This video will not contain spoilers. The Long Walk, directed by Francis Lawrence, starring Mark Hamill, David Johnson, Cooper Hoffman, Roman Griffin Davis, Judy Greer, and Josh Hamilton. The film is it's pretty good. Um, I never read the book, just to be clear on that. But going into it, I thought it's going to be a bit tough to make a film like this without either making it boring or making it too over the top, but it works. I'm aware that Francis Lawrence directed the I Am Legend movie. I never seen the film, I never read the book, but I know that he really screwed the ball on that one because I Am Legend has the book has this twist ending that it's really heartbreaking, it's really heartfelt. But for the film, it's just an action film, and I know he did Hunger Games, but I haven't seen the Hunger Games since I was 10 years old, so I can't really comment on that. And with this, I feel like he has redeemed himself because this is not an action film. This is just the long walk. Um, Speaking of action, when it came to the violence in the film, I thought maybe it would shy away from it. Like it would either sort of downplay it, like have it be the equivalent of a 12 rated film, where when someone dies, really it's just a small red dot where the bullet went. Because it feels like films have gotten more violent recently. Like it's more. I don't know if it's realistic or not because I don't really know much about guns, but it's not either like the bullets are tearing people's faces off and stuff. I thought that this film would shy away from all that and just sort of cut away when the violence happens, kind of like in funny games. But no, it does show the violence, and it is quite violent. Um, Not just bullets. There's other things that I won't get into because spoilers. Sorry about that. Something came up. Had to take a break. I think the last thing I mentioned was that about the violence and how I thought it'd be like funny games, and but it was actually quite violent, but it was spaced out. Um, and I feel like that's a good thing because this is not an action film. I feel like, say, the Hunger Games, for example, however many participants there are, when one of them dies, like just a random extra, it's whatever. If anything, you kind of clear it on because, oh, it's an action film. Action has happened. But with this, there's a bunch of people who all they do in the film is die. They don't have any sort of character or anything like that. And when it happens, it is always heartbreaking. There are a couple of characters that they actually do stuff and they are just assholes, but when they die, it is still heartbreaking. Like, it is crazy. But moving on, I don't do scripts for these videos. I just sort of go with the flow. For this, I did take notes. So the next thing I have on my notes here is that a thought that I had while I was watching the film is that I imagine that the making of the film kind of reflected the film itself because you have all these actors who they're just walking constantly. This film is an hour and 45 minutes long. 90% of that film is walking. And if they messed up or anything like that, or they needed to get another shot for the same scene. They need to keep walking. It must have been absolute hell. Whereas the crew, they're all in cars and stuff because the camera is it's fixed. It's Steadicam, probably attached to a car. It's not handheld or anything like that. So if I were an actor working on the film, I would resent the crew. Last thing that I have to talk about is the casting or the performances of the actors. Um, Roman Griffin Davis, Judy Greer, and Josh Hamilton. I don't have anything to say about them. Their roles just aren't ones where you get to flex your skills. David Johnson, I have only seen in Alien Romulus before this, but based on these two films and these two performances, I feel like he could be the next big thing. Like, he's older than Timothy Chalamet, but he could be the next Timothy Chalamet. And I'm all here for it. As for Cooper Hoffman, I have not seen Licorice Pizza. As far as I know, I haven't seen anything that he was in before this. And I gotta say, David stole the show, but Cooper, he wasn't lagging behind. Like, he was able to keep up in terms of, I don't know, presence, I guess. And as for Mark Hamill, it could be the voice he used for the film. He didn't speak in his natural voice. He kind of added, like, a bit of gravel to it. It something something bugged me about it, and I don't know why. And the last thing I have to talk about, which it's unrelated to casting, but in the very last scene, Mark kind of repeats himself, or they reuse a shot, and they just hoped that the audience wouldn't tell, but I could tell. Without spoilers, what happens is Mark raises his hand and he says a line to a character. And then the camera cuts to that character reacting to Mark. And then it cuts back to Mark and he raises his hand again. He says the exact same line in the exact same way. I don't know if it's just. It could be they decided to reuse the same shot being lazy, or it's because it was like two separate takes that were just spliced together, because that's common in films. I think I'm not too sure, but I doubt that's that because there's no way that Mark raised his hand to like the same position and said the lines in the exact same like there's always going to be differences even if it's on a minuscule level, but I did not notice any, so I doubt that it's that, or it could just be Mark decided to do the exact same thing in the exact same way, and in that case it's such a minor scene, but it bugged me, so I felt like I had to point it out. I don't want to call Mark Hamill a bad actor because it's Mark fucking Hamill. He's not a bad actor at all. But that was just a case of it was a hiccup. I'll say that. Overall, I think it is a pretty good film. It is the second best out of the Stephen King adaptations that we've had this year. Obviously, I'm not including The Running Man in that because it's not out yet, but Life of Chuck is free. This is two, and The Monkey's number one. And to be honest, I don't think anything could beat out The Monkey. I love that film.